Hey guys, in this video I'm going to tell you about all the ways to install a surveillance camera. And I won't just tell you about all the ways, I'll tell you about the pros and cons of each method. Let's examine installing a surveillance camera via a junction box. This is a popular yet problematic installation option to consider for enhanced security measures. We'll take a look at the option of installing a surveillance camera using a specialized base for the surveillance camera, made of plastic. Let's also take into consideration the possibility of installing dome surveillance cameras by using a specialized metal base. Consider IP option separately and HD option separately. I'll demonstrate how to crimp this pair, how to properly make connectors on a coaxial cable. Let's also consider the option of installing zoom surveillance cameras with you. They are twice as big and there are some quirks there. Let's consider installing outdoor Wi-Fi surveillance cameras with you. Let me tell you about all the options. Standard power supply, outdoor. Let's consider the option of installing 3G, 4G surveillance cameras, which means they work with SIM cards. Also, let's consider the option of installing outdoor Big 5Z cameras that rotate, have a huge zoom, and automatically keep an eye on people on your property. Also, I'll tell you all about installing a surveillance camera on a pole and on a corner of a building using specialized brackets for mounting. Additionally, I'll provide numerous life hacks on installing a surveillance camera and the camera cable for your convenience. Observations regarding the selection of surveillance cameras. I'll give you a bunch of practical, useful tips. If you're planning to set up a surveillance camera, make sure to watch the video completely. Thanks to this video, you'll be able to choose the installation option that suits your property. And you'll be able to mount the cameras in such a way that you won't run into a situation where after 6 months or a year you start having issues with the cameras or the connectors or the cable. Okay, let's start with the most common and at the same time most problematic choice of installation through a junction box, which is often encountered in practice. What's the upside of this option? He's the cheapest of all the options we have today. What are the downsides? -1. Any person can come up to your camera and do it like this and gain access to the socket, mess up your camera, or cut the cable. Other downsides of using this method are related to outdoor applications. These junction boxes are not originally intended for outdoor installation. So in the winter they can't crack, they're not waterproof enough. In the winter she can basically fall apart on you if you need to approach the camera and do something with it. There are also mounting boxes that are offered in versions with moisture protection IP66, IP67, but high quality options cost the same as specialized bases for mounting surveillance cameras, which are more convenient and also have an anti-vandal function. That's why I would recommend using these mounting boxes only indoors, where there is no easy access for intruders to the camera. For instance, it could be high ceilings, maybe it's a gym, maybe it's some kind of industrial space. In all other cases, it's better to purchase specialized mounting bases. I'll also answer a popular question: can you not use a base or a junction box at all? Just thread the wire through the wall, make a through hole, and secure it on the other side of the wall accordingly. Professionals in video surveillance never do it this way, because you should have easy access to the surveillance camera, in the sense that it can break, something can go wrong, some vandalism attack can happen, or let's say a short circuit can occur. You need to change the voltage fluctuations and the camera. If you're running a cable through the wall, then you'll need to plaster the wall accordingly, otherwise you'll have heat loss, meaning you'll need to patch up the hole. And in order to remove your camera for surveillance in this case, you basically have to destroy a part of the wall. So the professional installation option always assumes the presence of a connector directly near the camera. Now I'm going to show you the whole process of installation using a regular junction box. The first thing we got to do before we install the junction box is to plan for cable input. The cable can either come out of the wall or be run along the wall. I'll show you both of these options. We also need to consider here the input of the cable from the camera. On the junction box there are these rubber gaskets. All you have to do is grab a regular utility knife and carefully slice off the tiniest cap on this seal. Make sure to apply gentle pressure and maintain a steady hand. Once the cap is removed, the seal will be ready for use. It's a simple and quick process. So we have made plans for the cable input in case it is run through our wall. Additionally, let us cut off the similar cap from the second seal as well. However, it is important to note that the connector on the camera is thicker than a regular cable. There will always be an RJ45 connector soldered here, plus there is a second power connector here if the camera is not connected via PoE. And in order to plug this connector in here, there are two available options. Either cut the hat thicker, or as some individuals do, opt to cut it crosswise instead. The weather stripping itself does not really play a significant role. How do you do that? I will cut you some additional slack. We'll be mounting the ISON IP50SR camera with a junction box. This is the most popular surveillance camera in the IP segment. Not too expensive, but still good quality. 5 megapixel matrix, Sony, recording, sound, last generation backlight, last generation processors. Full set of PoE, WDR, DNR tech and so on. Also, I'll note that this camera has a more budget-friendly version with 3 MP, 30SR has a more expensive version, 8 SQR with 8 MP, and there's a 500 SB modification, which is the same 5 MP camera, but with color night shooting. Epson also has ready-made video surveillance systems based on these cameras called ISON Alpha. Now let's consider the option that you have a cable coming in through the wall. I'll grab a regular screwdriver, a 5 drill bit, and make a hole right here for the cable entry. We have got the hole ready and now we can install our junction box. As we can see, there are 2 spots here designated for screws. For ease of installation, I'll begin by using a small drill to make a preliminary hole. Now I'm going to set up our camera for video surveillance. What do you need to keep in mind during installation? So here on the flip side, we can see that there is a roller blind here. He should always be down, particularly during street installation, so that water does not leak in this location. I also wouldn't recommend putting it far away from the junction box, because here you'll have a cable hanging around, which will also be in an easily accessible area for intruders. The closer the better. The installation here is pretty straightforward. We can see that we need to secure it with 3 holes. To ensure easy installation, I strongly recommend lowering the camera down initially using the hinge, as this will make it much easier for you to securely mount it using these 2 pre-drilled holes. After we secure the 2 openings, we will twist and turn the hinge in this manner and move it to the side so that it is convenient to fasten these openings. You will need to set up your surveillance camera in various directions when connecting it to the monitor for optimal viewing angles. Video surveillance specialists employ test monitors like compact wristwatches for monitoring purposes. You just pop in the battery, plug it in, and you can see the picture right away. If you're not a pro, then when you connect to the dash cam, you'll see the direction, then you can figure out where you want the camera to look. Somewhere up, somewhere down. But I'll show you right away what needs to be done here. There's an adjustment screw on the side of the camera. Once you position the camera, you will have to tighten it by using the hex key that is included in the package for this purpose. Let's take off the protective film so it doesn't distract us. If you possess a pre-wired cable reel, then at this stage, all you need to do is establish a connection with the connector. Next, you can close the junction box. If you have a cable without a connector, I'll show you how to install an RG45 connector on a damaged pair. First thing we must do is reduce the length of our cable if it is too long. Let us do it in this manner. Then we need to remove the cover. I'll show you how it's done using different tools as an example. This tool is one of the most convenient. It is also possible to remove the cover by employing the built-in tool that comes with the cable crimping tool during the process. We do it like this and spin around the axis, and so on. And the process continues in a similar manner. Our tool. I'll also show you how it's done using a tool like this, a crimper. Here everything is also very simple. We locate the appropriate size and carry out the task in this manner. We observe that there are a few small wires here, they're all different colors. Our task is to arrange them according to the B2 scheme. Now on your screen you can see precisely how this scheme looks. First, let's put on protective caps on the camera to ensure its safety. Certain high-quality cameras are equipped with protective caps that are specifically designed for them. They are not required, but they came along with our camera. Let us proceed and perform the installation together with the help of these caps. Also, extra protective covers for RG45 connectors. They usually don't come with cameras or RG45 connectors in the package, but it's better to buy them separately if you're mounting them not with pre-made coils, but making the connectors separately. The pinout should be as follows: orange with a stripe, orange, green with a stripe, blue, blue with a stripe, green, brown with a stripe, brown. The order of the colors should be maintained. This tool is called a crimper, or a tool for crimping twisted pair. This tool is called a stripper or insulation removal tool or insulation pliers. Available on all marketplaces, they are relatively inexpensive. Now we need to shorten it with our crimper. Approximately this length. Now we insert the RG45 connector into the appropriate port. We insert very tightly, making sure that the contacts fit as tightly as possible. Double checking one more time to ensure that all of our colors are arranged in the correct order. Then we take a tool for crimping twisted pair. Insert our connector here tightly until it stops and clamp it. Our cable is crimped. It is important to put on the cap first and then proceed to connect it to the camera in order to ensure proper functionality and achieve optimal performance. Get ready. Regarding the power connector, if you are installing it indoors, you don't need to do anything with it, just leave it as it is. If you are performing outdoor wiring, I must say, I do not recommend utilizing standard junction boxes for that particular task. However, if you are performing it for a specific reason, you definitely need to seal it. You have to do it either with special protective caps, as they are not that commonly found, and they rarely come included with the cameras themselves. Simply seal it up using regular duct tape. When it comes to mounting bases, which we will now discuss in detail, there is no need to perform this action here, and sealing the opening is sufficient to ensure proper functionality. Even on the street, no matter the rain, no matter the snow, no matter the temperature, nothing will happen to this connector of yours. Let's discuss which cable to choose, a cable with pre-made connectors, or to buy the cable separately, the connector separately, and assemble it yourself. These two cables have a few significant differences. First of all, a cable with connectors, of course, is a simpler option. You don't need to crimp a twisted pair. You don't need to buy a special tool. You just take it out of the box, connect it, and it works. Also keep in mind that in this place, I can easily and conveniently mount these connectors, but it is highly likely that you will have to mount them in a location where you are standing on a ladder, which once again creates its own discomfort. Also, here are these ready-made spools connectors. They are more reliable. Take a look, this is how they look on the outside, compare. This connector that I installed myself, I can now easily pull it with my hand and detach it without any problems. So this connector, we observed that it is soldered at the factory and it is essentially impossible to cause any damage to it in any way. Furthermore, these connectors can potentially give you trouble if you do not have access to good quality RG45 connectors in your city or country of residence. There's a problem with crappy connectors, where they work fine for a while and then here comes the bad connection. As we understand it, in the case of factory connectors, such a problem simply cannot exist. If you are purchasing these connectors yourself, make sure to read reviews from installers, from individuals who have been using these connectors for years and can suggest them to you as connectors that do not have these typical issues and inexpensive low-quality connectors. What are the disadvantages? These pre-made buns are available in sizes that are strictly defined. 20, 30, 40, 50 meters. There are also 15, 10, 5 meters. Here's what they look like in a packaged socket. Here you can see the labeling. We currently have a coil that is 20 meters long, and here are similar coils that are 30, 40, and 50 meters long. So prior to mounting such a cable, you must have a rough idea of the amount of cable you require. Some find it convenient, while others find it inconvenient. Someone wants to buy a 300M coil and cut it on the spot, without bothering to measure at the actual location. Someone simply takes rough measurements and adds a small additional amount. Approximately 90% of individuals who buy a video surveillance system and who are not specialists in video surveillance choose the pre-made cable bundles. The expert in video surveillance with lots of experience who knows where to buy a high-quality RG45 connector. Classic IT guys, classic installers in 90% of cases install connectors on the cable themselves. Absolutely the same situation with analog HD cable. You can also mount the connectors yourself. I will show you how it is done a little later. You can obtain these pre-made spools like this. Additionally, everything is sealed at the factory, manufactured in a format for individuals who do not wish to perform their own crimping and soldering of connectors. They also come in 20, 30, 40, 50 and so on meters. There are options for video plus food, there are options for video plus food plus audio. Links to all mentioned items, INCL, cable, mounting base for cameras and surveillance cameras will be in video description provided in this review. I'll answer a popular question: how to properly install a video surveillance camera using a cable. Do we need to run the cable along the wall, or do we need to make it a permanent part of the wall structure? Of course, proper installation assumes that your cable is hidden in the wall, because when it is mounted along the wall, any intruder can come up at any place and cut your cable. So the correct way is to groove the wall and conceal the cable there. However, what can you do if you do not have that alternative? Do I need to use a corrugated pipe? The next popular question: do we need to use cable channels? Here, primarily, it depends on the type of cable you're laying. If this is a high-quality good cable, like the one in the review, I already showed you its marking. This cable is not afraid of ultraviolet light. It doesn't crack in the cold, so whether to hide it in a corrugated pipe or cable channel, that's already a design decision. An individual wants to do it, they would prefer a picture. Another person doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to spend extra money and bother themselves. If you have any other cable, be sure to hide it in a conduit, because 90% of all cables sold in the world right now are afraid of ultraviolet light. What does this mean? That means your cable will start crackling after a while and you'll have a problem with the picture. You may experience a glitch in the picture, the night backlight may disappear, meaning the camera is working fine, but the night backlight may not turn on at all at night. Either it turns on then turns off. Sometimes the camera image can just disappear. You're going to think your surveillance camera is broken, you should go and change it, but in reality the problem is with your cable. If you're buying equipment from the cheap price range on AliExpress, for example, make sure to change the cable right away. You may want to check out the plethora of negative reviews on those pre-made kits being sold on the same AliExpress platform. Reviews on cables saying they are poor quality, thin, cause problems, and why am I telling you to definitely change the cable? Let's imagine a situation where you just installed a video surveillance system. And let's say you put some really cheap surveillance cameras, and this camera broke down after 6 months, after a year, and you'll spend 10 minutes replacing this camera with a new one. However, if you have a problem with your cable, and your cable has gone bad, just imagine the amount of effort you will need to put in to replace it. If he is walled up, even if he is not walled up, you will not be able to escape or get away in a time span of 10 minutes. So you need to lay the cable right away, the one that you won't have any problems with for years or even decades. You must ensure that in a few years, you will have the capability to replace your surveillance cameras with new ones without the need to modify the cable. Because everything has its own expiration date. ISON brand surveillance cameras are top-notch, designed to last for a solid 10 years. So, if you use your surveillance system correctly, if there are no voltage fluctuations, if the connectors are properly installed, if you have installed a backup power source and neither during a thunderstorm nor in the case of poor wiring your surveillance camera will not fail, then it will serve you for about 10 years. For mid-priced segments, surveillance camera lifespan is typically 5 years. It all depends on who's luckier and who's not so lucky. If it's low-budget equipment, again, it depends on who you ask. But sooner or later, whether it's budget equipment or high quality, it will break down and you will need to replace it with modern, up-to-date equipment. And this is currently the issue that individuals who installed coaxial cable, analog cable for video surveillance 5-10 years ago are encountering. The person who installed quality cable now easily connects to 2K, 4K video surveillance, which is 5.8 megapixels of HD standard, and everything works smoothly. But most people laid the cable that was. I get it, back then it was tough for people to foresee this situation. It was hard to grasp the idea that surveillance cameras with 2K, 4K recording would be more demanding when it comes to cables. And they connect and see that the 5 and 8 megapixel cameras show approximately the same quality as the 960H 700 TW cameras, which is less than 1 megapixel. So, a camera on an old format coaxial cable will work. But if it lacks the quality of this cable, it will work with interference, it will have a snowy picture, and it will show roughly the same as your old analog cameras. So the cable that you're currently laying is of utmost importance to ensure its functionality in the next 5-10 years and avoid the need for replacement when it's time to upgrade your equipment. As for all the cables we have under review, I previously showed you the labeling of this cable that has been produced for over 10 years without encountering any problems. It is a highly versatile cable that is suitable for all types of surveillance cameras. If you are purchasing a different cable or if it is not available in your country, I recommend reading reviews from experienced installers who have been using the cable you desire for an extended period of time. And thanks to such reviews, you'll be able to understand that this is the very cable that has been serving for years, decades, and there are no issues with it. Another disadvantage of employing these pre-made coils is that you will be required to create a hole in the wall that is larger in dimensions than the actual cable itself. Here, for instance, we possess a cable that has a thickness of 7 millimeters, and if it possesses a connector, then it is 12 millimeters. However, what about the 7 millimeter aperture? Will you seal it with spackle or mounting foam, or will you encounter heat loss? What about 12 mm? Same story. So for some people this is a downside, for others it's not. Our job is to tell you and visually show you all possible options. Now let's consider the options for mounting through specialized profiled bases for attaching cameras. They come in several types. There are plastic ones, there are metal ones. They also differ in size. Less is more when it comes to installing standard surveillance cameras, my friend. Option for installing surveillance cameras with zoom, because cameras with zoom themselves always come twice as big. If we are discussing plastic mounting bases, there could potentially be a similar situation with low-quality plastic, just like what we observe with regular mounting boxes for installation purposes. Here we have all the ISON brand foundation models on review. This is the ISON D290, D390, D490, and the D390E, simpler and cheaper. 490, there is also a model D390E, a little simpler, cheaper than this base. If you're buying foundations from another brand, make sure to look for reviews from installers. That is, people who have been installing such foundations for years. And people can guarantee you with their reviews that there won't be any problem, that you installed it, went through the winter, cracks appeared somewhere, then water got in there, and your surveillance camera got damaged because of it. And as for these grounds, they are top-notch, reliable. The plastic option is ISON D290. Compared to other options, there are a ton of them made on a 3D printer. There are many of them made of the same plastic material as regular junction boxes, so I will reiterate, please read the reviews. In the beginning, the foundations for attaching cameras have an appearance that is like this. The items are packaged in a box, along with a collection of their fasteners. In this image, we can observe that there are openings specifically designed to accommodate virtually all varieties of cameras. These SND 290 mounting bases are completely universal. Comes with its own screws. You can also route the cable through the wall, you can bring it along the wall. The construction and installation bases are designed in such a way that both the camera and the installation bases are securely attached here with the help of 4 self-tapping screws. My recommendation is that you should first attach the lid and then proceed with the final installation on top of it for optimal results. So it will be easier for you during setup. We will mount the ISON HD50 SCU camera on the SND 290 plastic base. HD camera with a 5 megapixel varifocal lens, meaning it has a 4-fold mechanical zoom camera with a Sony Matrix, as well as all the latest technologies. The ready-made video surveillance system based on these cameras is called a simpler installation of connectors for HD video surveillance cameras. All we have to do is initially strip the coaxial cable, then proceed to strip the positive and negative power cables accordingly. You do not require any specific tool in this situation. You can perform the cleanup using a regular knife. Various types of BNC connectors. In this video, I'll demonstrate mounting a BNC connector under a screw. We're cleaning up, removing insulation, and using wire cutters to free the central wire. At the PNC connector, we loosen the screw using a regular cross-shaped screwdriver, place it onto the cable, tighten the screw, wrap the braid around the base, and secure the base by firmly clamping it with a pair of pliers. After that, you can put on a protective cap. Just clean the cable power and plug it into the power connector and tighten it with a screwdriver. This installation is ideal for both indoor and outdoor use. I will reiterate, you are selecting a high-quality mounting base that has undergone testing and has been proven over time to be suitable for outdoor use, even in freezing temperatures, rain, and snow. These grounds have been tested over time. If you're going for some other brand, make sure to check out the reviews from installers. Now we are proceeding to the installation on metal bases in order to attach cameras securely and effectively. This is the ISON D390 model, this is the D490, they differ in size by twice. This model is designed for standard surveillance cameras, while this one is for zoom surveillance cameras. You can notice that zoom surveillance cameras are always twice as big and accordingly twice as heavy compared to regular surveillance cameras. This is the best, highest quality option for installing surveillance cameras. Naturally, he automatically has a downside, which is that compared to these options, it is the most expensive option. At the same time, this is the type of situation where you can install video surveillance once and forget about common problems with connector oxidation, with the possibility of moisture entering, with it being non-hermetic and easily accessible. Watch out for those troublemakers around your sockets. No such problem here. As we can see, there are various openings provided on all sides here, as well as protective pads and markings included with these bases for ease of installation, as well as additional connector fittings that are included if you have a cable entering through the wall. Ensure usage. Also, it's advised to install them directly into a corrugated pipe here, that is, to provide maximum option if unable to mount video surveillance cameras with a cable from the wall. Please pay attention to what is written here, indicating the location of the top. There is a sign that clearly says UP in this area. Let's begin by carefully popping the lid to discover what is contained inside. We see that there is an extra protective cable here, again for ease of installation. We see here some extra protective pads, and on the other side we'll also uncover the main screw so that our cable can fit in here. We will be installing the ISON IP50 SSL surveillance camera on these bases for enhanced security. Dome, outdoor, vandal-proof camera with Sony sensor, 5 MP resolution and ready-to-use ISON Mulpro system. Pretty popular, a lot of ISON's regular customers know this model. Let's use the layout for the convenience of fastening, since it was given to us, although it's not necessary to use it. We sort of have an idea of where we want to mount our base with you, our surveillance camera, in mind. Let's make a pilot hole. And I am mounting the base on my own. If it is convenient for you, at this stage you have the option to remove this cover separately, install it on this cover separately so as to avoid climbing the ladder to the camera itself, and then establish the connection via the connector and put the camera together with the cover immediately on the base, thus eliminating the need for additional steps or assistance. Now, let's take a closer look at how to mount a dome surveillance camera with you. Before we mount it, we need to remove this protective ring that is covering the camera lens for added protection. Here we can observe that there is an aperture for a hexagonal shape. The hexagonal shape is also part of the set. Our only task is to slightly loosen the bolt in order to facilitate the removal of the protective ring that is currently in place. If you have a simpler camera, then most often there is no screw under the hexagon. There is simply this part that is spinning around and you can unscrew it. Additionally, you need to loosen the protective ring. After that, we can proceed to disassemble it and then separately take and attach the base. As soon as we secure the base, we'll be able to reattach the protective ring. And here we see that our camera is structurally designed that it can rotate left, right, up, down. So you will have the capability to install it and aim it in the identical manner as a typical cylindrical camera. Here's the thing, this camera can be mounted to the ceiling or wall, not just the ceiling. This camera mount is provided with a set of special screws that are accompanied by rubber washers for enhanced stability and protection. Ensure that you securely mount your surveillance camera to the base utilizing the provided screws in order to effectively prevent any moisture from getting inside the camera and causing damage or malfunction. We suspended the camera, you and I. We simply need to make some adjustments and orient it in the desired direction, then secure the bottom bolt using a hexagonal key. We have successfully completed the installation of the camera. And another disadvantage of mounting the camera is that there are already pre-drilled holes present in this location. Here, of course, there are numerous holes available for various types of cameras, but it is advisable for you to consult initially in the store where you will be making your purchase, in order to determine whether this base is suitable for attaching cameras under your selected surveillance camera. Because when it comes to plastic bases, it is much simpler in this context. They manufacture blanks for specific holes, but even if those holes are not present, you have the ability to easily create these openings on your own. Here it's not advisable to do it this way anymore, so it's better to use the holes that were originally intended. When it comes to ISON surveillance cameras, all ISON D390 cameras are compatible with ISON surveillance cameras that do not have zoom functionality. And as for the ISON D490 bases, they are all compatible with ISON surveillance cameras with zoom. If you're buying a different brand for yourself, make sure to clarify that in the store from the start. Where are you going to buy it? And bear in mind that if you're purchasing from various locations, for instance, you purchased surveillance cameras from one location and then opted to purchase mounts from the marketplace, there is a potential risk that you might ultimately receive mounts that are not compatible with your surveillance cameras. Note, ensure to clarify this with sellers beforehand. The mounting principle for attaching a zoom camera under the camera is essentially unchanged. It's all identical. The only thing I want to show you is how much I like the ISON D390 and D490 bases, because they have non-dropping screws here. Envision a scenario where you are suspended in mid-air on a tower, fastening a camera to a pole or possibly on a ladder, and screws unintentionally drop out of your foundation and land in the grass below. Here are some special screws that actually solve this problem. So choose a quality base for yourself, where everything is already thought out for comfortable installation of a video surveillance camera. In the package here, 2 couplings are included as well. They differ in size from one another. This gadget is for the installation of a thinner cable. This gadget is for the installation of a thicker cable. Where to release it accordingly, choose for yourself. There's something on one side, above or below. Alternatively, you can also position them on the sides. In this particular scenario, we will unscrew the rear hole in the same manner as before, as it will serve as the passage for the cable to be threaded through. You can do the same by removing the cover and mounting the camera. In conditions where it's more comfortable, you can mount directly on site, whichever way is more convenient for you. We have successfully fixed the camera. Please make sure to use the screws that came together with the camera base when attaching it securely in place. They are going with their special rubber bands to prevent moisture from getting in. After we directed the camera to the desired location, right here on the base there is a special mounting bolt that we will use. It is crucial to ensure that no moisture enters the system during this process. Beneath the hexagon, we tighten it securely to fix our surveillance camera in place and ensure its stability during operation. Let's take off the protective film so it doesn't distract us. Now let's take a look at how to install an outdoor Wi-Fi surveillance camera with you. What is a Wi-Fi surveillance camera? It's a camera without a wire between the camera and the DVR. And you must power the camera at the installation site. No differences in the installation principle of the camera here, it's mounted the same as all previous options. There are disparities in diet in this location. At the moment, we are currently reviewing the ISON IP50 ELP in this place. This is a camera that is included in the ready-made ISON Air Pro Max video surveillance systems. These are the most powerful ready-made video surveillance systems available, period. This camera can work as a dash cam, it can also record to its SD card. It's convenient when you only need one camera on the premises. Cameras with 3G, 4G and SIM cards. We'll examine this surveillance camera later. You can power this camera with a standard power supply. With the ready-made ISON Pro Max systems, they come as a package. This is an acceptable option for internal installation. There are people who ask for such power supplies on the street, even though they are not meant for outdoor use. So someone is making plans to create a cover or protection for the socket area as a precautionary measure. At the same time, this is still quite risky, so basically any sideways rain and your entire system will go haywire. You can prolong the cable, meaning you can utilize a special cable to create an extension with these power blocks. This is permissible up to 30 meters. If you have any other surveillance cameras, then you clarify with the manufacturer whether it is permissible to extend the cable for those cameras that you are watching and their standard power supplies. But proper installation is always a specialized outdoor power supply unit. Proper installation specifically for outdoor installation. This is a power supply with the 220V wire connected, outputting 12V on the other side. I've already screwed a fitting onto base D390 here. You've got a lid on and a professionally installed outdoor surveillance camera with a power supply unit that's not afraid of rain or snow and can withstand temperatures as low as -60 degrees. And there are also these wireless outdoor Wi-Fi cameras. These are surveillance cameras that operate using a SIM card. So you can put a 3G, 4G SIM card inside and also insert an SD card. She works completely independently of the dashcam of your Wi-Fi router. This here is the specific model, it's like the top of the line option. And here it says the model is IPGR 1000 PRO, 8 megapixels, Sony Matrix. It has a built-in microphone, speaker, Wi-Fi hotspot. You can approach it even if you don't have any 3G, 4G on the site. You can approach it, catch its own Wi-Fi signal, get into it, and view the recordings from the SD card. Well, basically the most top-notch option. We recently had a review on it. For those who are interested in more details, go check it out. As per installation principle, everything installed same as previous version, but here is one peculiarity regarding the PSU. Here it comes with its own outdoor power block for the socket. So, not like in the previous version where you need to connect a 220 wire, but here you can install an outdoor socket. When is this convenient? This is like a way of installation when, for example, it's more convenient for you to make a socket specifically. Don't let your stomach down with T20, but make an outdoor outlet. It's quite possible to connect some other devices. So, there is also such an option available. But at the same time, you have the ability to mount it with a street power block, just like the previous version. So when it comes to installing a surveillance camera, you have several options available for installation. Now let's consider the option of installing a 5Z class surveillance camera. This is the ISON IP57 AI camera, a rotating camera with a 36x zoom, Sony sensor. It rotates and automatically tracks people. The notable feature of the 5Z camera is that the installation is performed through a bracket and the connectors are discreetly concealed inside the bracket structure. So, additional junction boxes are not necessary here. Structurally, the surveillance camera allows for installation through its own bracket, and the connection to the video cable is made there as well. There's also a little safety cable here, so you can easily mount the surveillance camera with it. To prevent holding it in one hand, the design ensures that it can withstand the entire weight of this camera. The camera itself is quite heavy, weighing around 5 kilograms. We also have a detailed video review on our site. This here is the most expensive surveillance camera out of all the ones in today's review, but it's also the most high-tech and powerful. I will repeat, the 36x zoom enables her to see faces and car plates from many hundreds of meters away. In addition to automatic analytics, it is capable of scanning your object, monitoring a person, and more. Now I'm going to tell you about installing surveillance cameras on a pole. It's pretty simple here. We require a special bracket like this. Put the camera in this location. We have templates for all possible connectors in this place. The installation is exactly the same as I already showed you, and you need to thread the clamps through these holes. You initially choose a clamp that fits the size of your post. I think it goes without saying that the bigger the column, the bigger the clamp should be. And you ensure the security of your surveillance camera by using 3 identical nooses just like this. You can place a surveillance camera on the corner of the building by utilizing a standard mounting bracket. Just securing the camera on the corner if the angle of view and the specific situation allow you to do so. If it does not allow, then there are these specialized brackets that are specifically designed for the purpose of mounting a surveillance camera on a corner. Here, everything is also quite intuitive. There are a total of 4 holes available for securely attaching the bracket itself. We possess templates for every conceivable choice for the installation of a video surveillance camera or the mounting of a base. If y'all got any questions about this topic, drop them in the comments below this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on new videos.